Hello, welcome to AFRITALES by Moonlight. Please show us some love by subscribing to our channel, leaving a comment, giving us a like, and sharing with your friends. Your support truly means the world to us. Thank you. Ivy stared into the mirror of her tiny, cramped Lagos apartment. Her eyes were puffy from crying, her heart drumming with dread. Outside, the city's cacophony, a mix of honking cars and shouting hawkers, echoed her emotional turmoil. She just paid Tega's latest debt, a phone bill overdue for weeks. It was the final straw. For 2 years, Ivy had funded Tega's ambition. She believed in love and wanted to see him succeed. His promises of crypto fortunes, a car dealership, and quick money never yielded anything but bills. Now her savings were gone, her credit card stretched to the limit. Still, Tega flashed his charming grin, called her his rock, and pledged a brighter future. She collected herself and walked into the living room, where Tega lounged on the sofa scrolling through his phone. His nonchalance stung. "Tega," she began, voice trembling, "I can't do this anymore." He glanced up. "Babe, is this about the phone bill? I told you I'd handle it." "Handle it how?" she shot back, blood pounding. "Every dream you sell me becomes my burden. I'm drowning in debt while you keep dreaming." He stood, annoyance creeping into his voice. "You knew my hustle. Why are you acting brand new?" Tears threatened, but she fought them. "I believed in us, not just you. But all I've gotten is empty words. I'm done paying your way." He folded his arms. "You'll regret this." Heart aching, she grabbed the small suitcase she'd hidden behind the door. "I'll regret staying more. Goodbye, Tega." She hailed a cab to Funker's place, trying to steady her breathing. Each block away from Tega felt like another chain breaking. She missed the idea of him, the man she'd wanted him to be, but the reality was crushing. When she arrived, Funk opened the door to find Ivy trembling. "Did you finally end it?" Funk asked gently, ushering her inside. Ivy nodded, letting tears slip free. "I can't do it anymore." Funker hugged her. "You should have left sooner, but I'm proud you did now. This is your first step to finding yourself." For the next few days, Ivy stayed in Funk's spare room, job hunting while mulling over the damage Tega had caused. She still had a marketing position, though it was draining. Late one night, her phone buzzed. It was her mother. She answered hesitantly. "Ivy, your cousin Asos's introduction is next week," Mama said. "Come home to Edo State. We need you." Her first instinct was to refuse, but a longing for home nudged her. Maybe distance from Lagos would help her heal. "Okay, Mama. I'll come." Funker agreed it was a good idea. "You need the break," she said, offering to drop Ivy off at the airport. "Recharge and see your family." When Ivy finally booked the flight, she felt an odd mixture of relief and anxiety. She was running from Tega's toxic hold, but what about the judgment of her extended family? People who thought Tega was a go-getter? She couldn't stomach the pity or the nosy questions. The morning of her departure, Tega texted, "You'll never find another hustler like me." She watched the words blur, hands trembling. Then she deleted the text and blocked his number. She didn't need more illusions. At the airport, Funk gave her a tight hug. "Babe, focus on yourself. Let them talk. Remember, you deserve real love." Ivy boarded the plane to Benin City, carrying her heartbreak, regrets, and a fragile hope. She stared out the window as Lagos faded beneath her, envisioning the fresh start she craved. Whatever awaited her in Edo State, it couldn't be worse than living as Tega's crutch. The drone of the engines lulled her, offering a small comfort. She was leaving the worst behind. Soon, she would discover if home could heal the wounds love had left behind. Touching down in Benin City felt surreal. The airport was smaller, calmer. Ivy stepped outside into a familiar, humid breeze that smelled of red earth and something like nostalgia. She spotted her mother's car, an old sedan that rattled when it idled, parked near the exit. Mama waved with unrestrained joy, enveloping Ivy in a tight hug the moment she drew near. "Look at you," Mama exclaimed. "Skinny as a broomstick. Are you eating it all in that Lagos?" Ivy forced a smile. "I'm fine, Mama. Just work stress." They drove through the city's modest roads, past old shops and new ones that had sprung up since her last visit. Then they arrived at the family bungalow, painted in a cheery peach color with a little front garden of hibiscus and roses. Everything looked smaller, as if childhood memories had once made it grand. Inside, Ivy greeted her younger siblings, who teased her about city life. She tried to ignore the heaviness in her heart. That evening, while the household bustled with wedding talk, Ivy retreated to her childhood room, letting the soft hum of crickets soothe her. The next morning, Mama wasted no time with her usual matchmaking. "I want you to meet someone," she announced during breakfast. "Obaro, a family friend. He's helping with the wedding." Ivy nearly choked on her tea. "Mama, I just got out of a bad relationship. I'm not interested." Mama waved a dismissive hand. "Just a conversation. Networking, my dear." Ivy nodded absently, already planning to dodge. She spent the day helping her cousin Asosa with wedding errands. Asosa was frantic about the introduction ceremony, picking outfits, finalizing catering, and dealing with pushy relatives. Ivy tried to lend a calm presence, offering suggestions and hugs. Later that afternoon, Ivy visited a small garden cafe alone, seeking a rare moment of peace. She ordered a chilled Zobo drink and settled at a table beneath a shady tree. The calm was a stark contrast to the noise of Lagos, and the noise in her head. Suddenly, she heard a gentle voice. "Ivy?" Turning, she saw a tall, well-dressed man with a friendly gaze. He extended his hand. "I'm Obaro. Your mom wanted us to meet." Ivy's first instinct was to cringe, but his genuine smile softened her wariness. She motioned for him to sit. "I guess Mama is persistent," she said, half smiling. He chuckled. "She is. I came here for a meeting, then recognized you from a photo your mom showed me. Mind if I join?" She found herself nodding. Over cold drinks, they made awkward small talk that gradually slipped into a natural rhythm. He mentioned owning a few businesses in real estate and logistics, plus a passion for philanthropic work. Ivy half listened, still guarded. Yet, he seemed polite, steady, not a flashy dreamer like Tega. After half an hour, Obaro's phone buzzed with a reminder. He excused himself politely, leaving Ivy with a curious warmth. She scolded herself for even noticing. Men with wealth and ambition were a red flag in her book. Still, Mama's meddling had accidentally placed a decent conversationalist in her path. That evening, Mama pounced. "How was Obaro?" "Easy, Mama," Ivy said, rolling her eyes. "We only talked for a few minutes." Mama winked conspiratorially. "Sometimes that's all it takes to spark something." Ivy frowned. If Mama was this pushy now, what would happen at the wedding? She couldn't handle more heartbreak or illusions. Still, a tiny spark of intrigue flickered when she recalled Obaro's genuine interest in her opinions. Determined not to fall into a new trap, Ivy focused on family. She tried to ignore the flutter she'd felt at the cafe, telling herself it was just relief at meeting someone polite. She had an entire life to rebuild. Piling heartbreak on top of heartbreak was the last thing she needed. Yet, fate had a way of interfering, and Ivy sensed that Edo State held more twists than she'd bargained for. With Asosa's introduction ceremony only days away, the family compound turned into a mini carnival. Relatives arrived in droves, bearing fabrics, foodstuffs, and boisterous laughter. In the midst of the clamor, Ivy found pockets of escape whenever possible. One afternoon, Mama cornered her in the kitchen. "Your father's old friend asked about you," she said casually, washing vegetables. "He mentioned Obaro again." Ivy gritted her teeth. The mere mention of her father rekindled old wounds. He'd left long ago, chasing fortunes and never returning. She didn't want any reminder of that painful history, let alone from someone like Obaro, who might mirror her father's smooth confidence. To dodge Mama's meddling, Ivy dedicated her time to Asosa. She helped with selecting decor and finalizing the menu. At the local tailor's shop, they waited for the final adjustments on their traditional attire. Asosa eyed her cousin. "You seem distracted, Ivy." Ivy shrugged. "Family drama, plus Mama's attempts to match me with Obaro. It's just, a lot." Asosa laughed gently. "He's a good guy from what I hear. But don't rush if you're not ready. I just want you to be happy." Over the next few days, Ivy noticed how often she ran into Obaro, at the local market, picking supplies, in the compound, dropping off a gift for the bride, at the florist, finalizing flowers for the ceremony. Each time, he offered a warm greeting. She remained polite yet distant. "Ivy," he said one afternoon when he caught her alone near the driveway, "I sense you're avoiding me. If it's too forward for me to say hello, let me know." She flushed. "It's not that. I'm busy with wedding stuff." His gaze lingered. "Fair enough. Just know I'm around if you need help." Her heart hammered. "I'm used to doing things on my own." He gave a slow nod. "I respect that," he replied, then turned to go, leaving Ivy with a swirl of guilt for being so cold. That evening, Ivy confessed her turmoil to Funke over a phone call. I keep pushing him away, but he's done nothing wrong. He's kind, stable, everything Tega wasn't. Funke sighed. Could it be fear? You're traumatized by Tega and your dad's abandonment. Ivy bristled. Maybe. But better safe than sorry. Funke gently reasoned. Or you'll end up safe and alone. Not all men are Tega or your dad. Keep an open mind. At dinner, Mama tried again. Obaro is coming tomorrow to help with decorations. You can work together. Ivy forced a smile but seethed inwardly. She didn't like feeling cornered. Yet, part of her acknowledged that Obaro had been nothing but respectful. The next morning, true to Mama's word, Obaro arrived with a truck of flowers and ribbons. He'd organized a discounted deal from a friend. Everyone praised his resourcefulness, adding to Ivy's annoyance and intrigue. Mid-task, she found herself alone with him in the front yard, assembling a floral arch. The air smelled of fresh roses and sawdust. After a moment of tense silence, Obaro broke the ice. Ivy, I won't bite. She exhaled. I know. I'm just not sure what you want from me. He tied a ribbon neatly. Honesty. Friendship, at least. I'm not forcing anything. She paused, meeting his gaze. I'm still healing from a painful breakup. Sympathy softened his features. I understand. Take your time. I'm not here to hurt you. Something in his tone eased her guard. They continued working in relative harmony, occasionally exchanging small smiles. By lunchtime, the floral arch stood beautifully, a testament to their teamwork. Relatives clapped and teased them about being a power couple. Ivy rolled her eyes but felt a strange warmth. Later, she retreated to her room, mind spinning. Obaro, with his unwavering kindness and quiet support, was chipping away at her defenses. Still, she feared repeating old mistakes, loving a man who'd vanish or exploit her vulnerability. In the hush of that night, she recalled the pain of Tega's betrayal and her father's abandonment. Yet she also remembered Obaro's gentle patience. Was she condemning him for sins he hadn't committed? She resolved to at least give him a chance to be a friend, if nothing else. The introduction ceremony loomed, promising more chaos. But Ivy's mind was preoccupied with the man she'd been meant to avoid, and yet kept colliding with. Perhaps, she mused, fate was more stubborn than her defenses. The real question was whether she'd let her guard down enough to see if Obaro truly was different. The family compound bustled on the morning of Asosa's introduction ceremony. Drummers arrived, warming up with rhythmic beats that rattled the windows. Aunties in matching head wraps sang in the kitchen, stirring large pots of jollof rice. Ivy navigated the chaos in her coral-embroidered outfit, ensuring guests were comfortable. Amid the festive clamor, she glimpsed Obaro stepping out of his car. He wore a simple traditional outfit that accentuated his tall frame. Ivy quickly turned away, pretending to direct a vendor, but felt heat creep across her cheeks. As the ceremony began, family representatives greeted each other, exchanging pleasantries and gifts. Asosa beamed in her regal attire, leaning into her husband-to-be's side. Ivy watched, impressed by her cousin's calm. She longed for a sense of security like that, but her walls remained firmly in place. Between formalities, Obaro approached her, a warm smile on his face. Everything looks beautiful, he said, gesturing at the canopy and decorations. Ivy nodded. It came together well, thanks to everyone's help. He studied her outfit. You look stunning. She bristled instinctively at the compliment, then forced a polite response. Thank you. You clean up nicely too. They shared a moment, the raucous music and chatter surrounding them like a backdrop. A family friend suddenly whisked Ivy away to handle an emergency, a missing ice bucket. She rushed off, leaving Obaro mid-sentence. All day, he seemed to hover at the edge of her awareness, lending assistance, chatting with relatives, never overstepping. His presence was unnervingly comforting. That evening, after most guests had departed and the compound was littered with empty plates, Ivy slumped onto a sofa in the living room, exhausted. Obaro emerged from outside, having helped store decorations. You all right? He asked gently. She exhaled. Just tired. Weddings are exhausting. He chuckled. Indeed. But it was lovely. Silence settled between them. Finally, he cleared his throat. Ivy, I want to be straightforward with you. I'm interested in more than casual chats. I see a future with you. Her heart pounded. That's direct. He shrugged, eyes calm. I don't believe in games. I'm not proposing marriage tomorrow, but I want you to know my intentions. I'm here to court you properly, if you'll let me. She tensed, memories of Tega's grand promises flooding back. He'd once said, I'll make you my queen, but delivered only debts. Ivy struggled against the instinct to run. You might be sincere, but I've heard promises before. They didn't end well. Obaro lowered himself onto the sofa, keeping a respectful distance. I'm not Tega. I'm me. I can't erase your past, but I can show you who I am. She gnawed her lip. What if you vanish when things get hard? Or if I disappoint you? His gaze held steady. Then I'd be a fool. I'm not perfect, but I don't quit just because it's inconvenient. I wouldn't ask you to bank my dreams like Tega did. I only want a partnership, 2 equals. Her eyes smarted with tears she refused to shed. I'm scared to believe you. He reached out slowly, gently touching her hand. That's okay. I'll earn your trust over time. No rush. They sat in silence, the distant hum of leftover music drifting in from the courtyard. Eventually, Obaro excused himself, leaving Ivy torn between fear and a reluctant hope. She retreated to her room, failing to settle her swirling mind. Late that night, she texted Funker, he says he wants a future. Am I crazy to consider it? Funker's reply came quickly, you'd be crazy not to try if it's genuine. Don't let Tega's ghost block your blessing. Ivy stared at the glowing screen. She wasn't sure if she believed in blessings anymore. But Obaro's actions so far had been consistent, unforced. Still, words were easy, life was complicated. Could she trust him to do more than talk? Exhaustion finally won, and she dozed off. In her dreams, she saw Tega's face morph into her father's, both saying, trust me, while disappearing. She woke in a sweat. Determined not to be paralyzed by the past, she resolved to watch Obaro's behavior closely. If he truly meant what he said, time would prove it. And if he turned out to be another illusion, she'd walk away with no regrets. Days after the introduction ceremony, the house emptied of extended family. Sosa and her fiancé prepared for the next stage of their wedding journey, while Ivy lingered in Edo State, trying to sort her feelings. Meanwhile, her boss at the marketing firm bombarded her with deadlines. She worked remotely, but found it increasingly draining. Every so often, Obaro would text or call, inviting her to lunch or offering help. She declined frequently, feeling uneasy about how easy he made everything seem. It reminded her too much of her father's confident air, promising safety, only to abandon her mother and vanish. One afternoon, Ivy's best friend from university, Elahor, dropped by the family house. They reminisced, flipping through old photos. Soon, Elahor noticed how distracted Ivy was. You keep checking your phone, she teased. Waiting for a message. Ivy blushed. Obaro, she admitted. He wants to meet up. Elahor grinned. So meet up. You're acting like you don't like him. Ivy sighed. He's almost too perfect. Wealthy, generous, kind. I'm terrified it's all an act. Elahor's smile faded. Not every good man is a con. Tega was a disappointment, sure, but give Obaro a fair chance. Later, guilt gnawed at Ivy. She arranged to meet Obaro at a local restaurant, a small but upscale spot with a quiet atmosphere. He arrived early, greeting her at the door. Over a shared bowl of pepper soup, conversation flowed easily. They talked about business, family, and random trivia. Ivy found herself laughing at his anecdotes, surprised by how light she felt. Yet, as the meal ended, anxiety resurfaced. She gazed at his confident posture, remembering how her father used to exude a similar vibe before leaving without a word. She drew back. I need to go, she said abruptly. Obaro frowned. Did I say something wrong? No, she replied, flustered. I just can't do this right now. She grabbed her bag and left, ignoring his concerned calls. Outside, her heart pounded. Why was she so quick to retreat? She felt her phone vibrate, Obaro was calling. She sent it to voicemail. She loved the idea of him, but it terrified her, too. Better to ghost him than risk heartbreak again, right? That evening, she broke down in tears, recounting the incident to Elahor. I'm pushing him away because he's too good, Ivy admitted. How messed up is that? Elahor hugged her. It's fear, plain and simple. But if he's genuine, your running will only hurt you both. The next day, Ivy tried to focus on her marketing projects, but her thoughts drifted. Scenes from lunch replayed in her mind, his gentle eyes, the way he listened intently. With Tega, their meals often ended in arguments or requests for money. Obaro, however, asked nothing of her. that felt foreign. Could sincerity be real, or was it the calm before a storm? Mama noticed Ivy's restlessness. "You've been pacing all day," she observed. "Maybe you should talk to Obaro. At least explain yourself." Ivy huffed. "Mama, I'm not in the mood for your matchmaking." Mama's gaze softened. "I just don't want you missing out on happiness because you're clinging to past pain." The words stung because they were true. Swallowing her pride, Ivy texted Obaro, "I'm sorry for bolting yesterday. Can we talk soon?" Within minutes, he replied, "Of course. Let me know when." She invited him over to the house late that afternoon. He arrived casually dressed, tension evident in his stance. They sat in the living room, the thick air of unspoken apologies hanging between them. Ivy breathed deeply. "I panicked because I'm not used to someone like you." He nodded, quiet. She mustered courage. "I see traces of my father in you." He was also confident, successful. "Then he left us. I'm afraid of history repeating." Silence. Then Obaro spoke softly. "I'm sorry that happened to you. But I'm not him. I can't prove that overnight. All I can do is be here, consistently." Tears blurred her vision. "It's hard to trust," she whispered. He reached out, gently taking her hand. "I understand. I'll give you all the space you need. But don't shut me out entirely." Relief mingled with lingering doubt. She nodded, appreciating that he didn't dismiss her fears. They talked about boundaries, no grand gestures unless she was comfortable, no assumptions about exclusivity until she was ready. It felt like forging a contract of honesty. By the time he left, Ivy was emotionally exhausted but oddly lighter. He wasn't perfect, no one was, but his willingness to move at her pace diffused her panic. Still, she wasn't ready to leap into his arms. Time would tell if his claim of stability was genuine or a well-acted facade. As she lay in bed that night, she realized the biggest hurdle wasn't truly Obaro's character, but her own scars. She decided to take the next small step, trusting slowly. If he truly was as patient as he seemed, perhaps she owed herself a chance to believe that perfection could be real, or at least real enough to heal her trembling heart. In the following week, Ivy resumed a cautious friendship with Obaro. They exchanged texts more often, discussing mundane things like local news or sharing jokes about odd relatives. He never pressed for more than she was willing to give, which surprised her. She'd grown used to pushy men, or men who vanished when not immediately gratified. One evening, after a lengthy phone call about wedding gossip, Ivy felt a pang in her chest. She wanted to share why she was so guarded, to see if he'd understand the depth of her wounds. Could she reveal her father's abandonment, or how Tega's betrayal amplified that old fear? Before she could work up the nerve, her phone buzzed. Mama wanted her to help plan a small celebration for Asos's upcoming final wedding rites. Ivy found it a welcome distraction. She spent the next day running errands, booking a caterer, finalizing decoration themes, collecting fabric samples. Late in the afternoon, she collapsed onto a plastic chair in the backyard, savoring a moment's peace. Obaro's text appeared, "How's your day?" She typed a tired reply, "Busy, but okay." Moments later, he responded, "Need a ride home or anything?" She hesitated, then politely declined. Part of her still resisted feeling indebted. That night, as she sorted through the day's receipts, her best friend Elahor stopped by, eyes bright with concern. "I heard you're warming up to Obaro. Are you going to tell him about your father's past?" Ivy stiffened. "Why would I? It's humiliating. He vanished when I was little, leaving Mama to fend for us." Elahor shrugged gently. "He's a huge part of why you're so guarded. If Obaro's serious, he'll need to understand that." Ivy's throat tightened. "What if he judges me? Or pities me?" Elahor patted her shoulder. "Then he's not worth your time. Better to see his reaction now than later." Conflicted, Ivy mulled over those words. The next day, she called Obaro. He sounded eager when he picked up, but she cut the pleasantries short. "I need to talk to you," she said, voice trembling. "Can you come by?" In less than an hour, his SUV pulled into the compound. They settled outside near the jasmine bushes, dusk painting the sky in purples and golds. Ivy clenched her hands in her lap. "There's something about my past I've been hiding." Obaro leaned forward, nodding patiently. She recounted how her father was once a successful businessman, only to abandon them without warning. How Mama struggled to pay bills, sometimes going hungry so Ivy could eat. How each birthday, Ivy hoped he'd return. He never did. She swallowed the lump in her throat. "His leaving shaped how I see men," especially confident ones like you. Tega only made it worse, taking advantage of my savings, feeding me sweet lies. Obaro listened without interrupting. When she finished, tears streaked her cheeks. She looked away, waiting for him to speak. Finally, he exhaled. I'm sorry you went through that. No child should wonder why their father left. And Tega, well, he took advantage of your kindness. Ivy braced herself for some cliché reassurance or pity. Instead, Obaro said gently, I can't fix your past, but I can try to make your present better. If you'll let me. Her chest tightened in both relief and lingering fear. How can I trust you won't just disappear? He took her hand. You'll have to watch me. Consistency over time. I can't wave a magic wand, but I won't lie to you or vanish because things get tough. The raw honesty in his tone disarmed her. For the first time, she sensed a real possibility of healing. They sat quietly, her hand in his, letting the evening breeze carry the tension away. After he left, Ivy felt both drained and uplifted. She hadn't felt that level of vulnerability in years, but his reaction was more patient understanding than pity. Could this be the beginning of breaking down walls? That night, she texted him a simple thank you. He replied with a heart emoji and, I'm always here. Usually, emoticons annoyed her, but this time, she smiled. Then she recalled Elahor's words, better to see his reaction now than later. She'd shown him the scar. He didn't flinch. That counted for something. Still, trust wasn't built overnight. The ghost of her father's absence lingered, reminding her that men could disappear at any moment. Yet, if she never dared to believe, she'd remain stuck. Ivy decided to take cautious steps forward, letting a sliver of hope guide her. Silence about her trauma had weighed her down long enough. Perhaps opening up was the first step to freedom. Ivy's days became a balancing act. She struggled with her marketing job, fulfilling remote tasks while also brainstorming ideas for her own perfume line, an old dream she'd once cherished. Free from Tega's financial drain, she felt a spark reignite. Maybe, just maybe, she could create something of her own. One afternoon, her boss demanded she return to Lagos immediately for a product launch. The tone of his email was harsh, either be here Monday or hand in your resignation. Ivy stared at the screen, heart pounding. She'd grown weary of this job's exploitation. The thought of quitting was both terrifying and liberating. She sought refuge in the courtyard, where Mama was tending plants. Nervously, Ivy confessed, I might quit my job. It's draining me. Mama raised an eyebrow. You have a plan? Maybe start my perfume line, Ivy admitted. But no guarantee of success. Mama studied her a moment, then nodded. Life is risk. If you never risk, you stay stuck. Buoyed by Mama's unexpected support, Ivy sent a firm reply to her boss, I won't return Monday. If that's unacceptable, consider this my resignation. Her heart raced as she hit send, but a sense of relief washed over her. Tega was gone, and now this job that she despised would be, too. She was finally choosing herself. That evening, Ivy confided in Obaro. They took a stroll outside the family compound, the dusk air warm on their faces. I might have just quit my job, she said, letting out a nervous laugh. I can't keep living for others. Obaro nodded, a smile playing on his lips. It's bold. I respect that. So, what's next? I want to start a small perfume brand. Years ago, I had sketches, business plans, everything. Tega happened, and I lost my savings. Now I have nothing but the idea. He didn't hesitate. I can introduce you to people who can help, investors, suppliers. But only if you want it. Her immediate reaction was to resist. I don't want to be dependent on anyone, she said, voice tense. He held his hands up. Understood. No pressure. My offer stands, no strings attached. The phrase no strings attached struck a chord. It was so different from Tega's manipulations. Could she trust it? She inhaled, calming herself. Thank you, she murmured. They wandered back, hands brushing occasionally. She noticed how at ease she felt, even amid her anxieties. That night, her phone rang, her boss, furious. You're making a mistake, he barked. Don't expect a reference. She stood her ground. I'm prepared for the consequences. Then she ended the call. An odd mixture of fear and triumph buzzed through her. She was essentially unemployed, but she'd cast off a toxic environment. Tomorrow, she'd wake up without a paycheck. Yet, she'd have freedom, and a chance to pursue her forgotten dream. The following morning, Mama found Ivy hunched over her old notebooks, flipping through pages of perfume formulas and branding ideas. "It's good to see you working on your dream," Mama said quietly, placing a gentle hand on her shoulder. Ivy smiled, tears pricking her eyes. "I just hope I'm not making a huge mistake." Mama's gaze was warm. "Even if you fail, you tried. That's more than doing nothing." Encouraged, Ivy set out to lay the groundwork for OD Ivy, the brand name she'd drafted years ago. She reached out to local suppliers, researched packaging options, and emailed a small fragrance house in Lagos for potential collaboration. Each small step felt monumental. That afternoon, Obaro dropped by unexpectedly. "Thought you might need a ride to the city for errands," he offered. "I'm heading there anyway." Ivy hesitated, then accepted. She was done punishing him for being kind. On the drive, he asked about her father's last known whereabouts. Ivy sighed. "We heard rumors he remarried abroad. I don't know if he's even alive. Mama never looked for him." Obaro nodded in sympathy. "If you ever want closure, you might consider searching for him. But only if it's part of your healing." She mulled that over, uncertain. A wave of sorrow washed through her, but she quickly pushed it aside. Right now, her focus was on building a stable future for herself. Finding her father wouldn't change the wounds he'd left. As they navigated the city streets, Ivy realized something. She wasn't walking away from every challenge as she once did. She was confronting her fears, quitting a stifling job, acknowledging her father's effect on her, letting Obaro into her life, albeit slowly. Each step was daunting, but she was walking through, not running off. Returning home, she felt hopeful. The next chapter of her life beckoned, uncertain but exhilarating. Maybe this was the real triumph, choosing to believe she was worth more than half-loves and draining jobs. For once, Ivy saw the spark of her own potential, and it burned brighter than the shadows of her past. The weeks that followed were a whirlwind of calls, emails, and cautious excitement. Ivy had managed to secure a small workshop in Lagos for her fledgling perfume line, though she planned to stay in Edo State a bit longer for family and to finalize wedding events. Meanwhile, Obaro offered gentle support, never overstepping. One morning, Mama summoned Ivy into the living room. "Your uncle's friend has a business proposal for you," she said. "He wants to invest in local enterprises. Should I give him your number?" Ivy flashed a wary glance. "I don't want to jump into deals with strangers. I'll think about it." That same day, Obaro called. "Any progress on OD Ivy?" he asked. She told him about the potential investor. "Do you trust him?" Obaro asked. "I'm not sure," Ivy admitted. "But I need funding eventually." Obaro's tone softened. "Look, I know you're guarded about taking my help, but I do have business experience. If you ever need advice, I'm here." Ivy exhaled. "I appreciate it, but I want to move slowly. I don't want a relationship that mixes with business obligations." She recalled how Tega had twisted their finances, leaving her emotionally and economically drained. "I understand," Obaro said calmly. "When you're ready, just say so. No strings attached." Those words echoed in her mind, no strings attached. A concept so foreign, yet so essential. Tega had wrapped her in a web of obligations, guilt, and unkept promises. Her father had offered only illusions of stability. But here was Obaro, presenting a quiet confidence that, for once, didn't mask ulterior motives. One evening, they sat outside under a blossoming frangipani tree. The sun dipped low, painting the sky orange and pink. He asked about her job prospects in Lagos, and she shrugged. "I'm fully invested in my perfume line now. Maybe I'll do freelance marketing if I need side income." He regarded her thoughtfully. "I'm proud of you for chasing your dream. So many people stay stuck out of fear." She cast him a sidelong glance. "You're not upset I won't let you bankroll me?" He chuckled. "If love is sincere, it's not about controlling or forcing you into dependence. Real love empowers both people to grow." His words tumbled in her chest, stirring emotions she'd kept locked away. Tega's love had burdened her with guilt and responsibility. Her father's absence had forced her mother to do everything alone. Hearing Obaro speak of a love that liberated rather than confined felt revolutionary. Still, she hesitated. "Sometimes I wonder if you're just saying what I want to hear," she confessed. "How can I know it's real?" He paused before answering, his gaze steady. "You can't know instantly. Trust takes time. Watch my actions. See if they match my words. If they ever don't, walk away." Ivy closed her eyes, breathing in the fragrant evening air. She could find no sign of faucet in him, but her old fears clung tightly. Opening her eyes, she found his warm gaze still fixed on her. "You make it sound simple," she managed. He shook his head. "It's not simple. But I'm willing to try." Warmth spread through her chest. She allowed herself to lean against his shoulder briefly, a small gesture of acceptance. The simplicity of it startled her. No sense of being trapped or manipulated. Just quiet companionship. Later, in her bedroom, Ivy replayed the conversation. The idea of real love, supportive yet not possessive, giving without expecting reciprocation, felt like stepping into sunlight after years in a cave. A tear slipped free as she realized how deeply she'd craved this reassurance. As days turned into nights, their bond deepened through small acts of understanding. He didn't press for physical intimacy, didn't demand timelines or promises. She started to believe that maybe love didn't have to be a transaction. Maybe real love did lift, not weigh you down. On a breezy afternoon, Ivy scrolled through her bank app, comparing costs for small fragrance bottles. She was short on cash, but her heart felt oddly light. She refused to let fear paralyze her. She had a plan, a dream, and unexpectedly, someone who believed in her without strings. She typed a short message to Obaro, "Thank you for giving me space." His reply came swiftly, "Anytime. I'm rooting for you." Smiling, she closed her eyes and let out a breath she felt she'd been holding forever. Perhaps, for the first time, she believed that a love free from control was possible, and worth risking her heart for. 2 months later, the small wedding celebrations for Asosa finally concluded, and Ivy prepared to return to Lagos. Her workshop lease began soon, and she needed to get her fledgling perfume business off the ground. Amid the flurry of packing, she paused, reflecting on how drastically her life had changed. She'd parted ways with Tega's draining grasp, quit her dead-end job, and found a cautious but comforting relationship with Obaro. Though they hadn't labeled it officially, it felt more real than any arrangement she'd known. He offered support and advice without stifling her independence, letting her grow at her own pace. On her last morning in Edo State, Obaro appeared at her family's doorstep with a small box. "Just something to remember me by," he said, a hint of shyness in his tone. Ivy opened it, finding a dainty bracelet with a subtle jasmine charm, her favorite flower. "Thank you," she whispered, touched by the thoughtful gesture. He cleared his throat. "I thought about something else. If you need help setting up in Lagos, finding suppliers or dealing with realtors, I can make a few calls." Ivy smiled, stroking the bracelet. "I appreciate that. But I want to do most of it myself. I need to prove to me that I can." He nodded. "I respect that. Just know I'm here, no conditions." She studied his face. "You really mean that, don't you?" His eyes locked onto hers. Every word. They stood there for a moment, the intimacy of silence wrapping around them. Before, Tega's presence would have felt suffocating in such a moment, demanding praise or money. But with Obaro, she felt no weight, only a steady reassurance. She took a step closer, resting her head briefly on his chest. He held her gently, neither urging her nor restraining her. "I'll miss you," she admitted softly. He smiled into her hair. "I'll visit often. And there's always video calls. Just promise not to ghost me." She laughed, recalling how she once avoided his calls out of fear. "I promise." A few hours later, Ivy loaded her suitcases into Funker's car, preparing to drive to Lagos. Mama stood by, offering blessings and unsolicited marriage advice. "Call me if anything happens," Mama said for the 10th time. "I will, Mama," Ivy assured, rolling her eyes with affection. Finally, she slid into the passenger seat. Obaro tapped the window gently. She lowered it, feeling her chest tighten at the thought of leaving. He leaned in, voice low. "Take care, and keep dreaming big, okay?" She nodded, words failing her. Funker started the engine, and with a wave, they pulled away. Ivy watched the compound shrink in the rearview mirror, heart twisting between excitement and nostalgia. On the drive, Funker teased her. "You two are getting serious, huh?" Ivy played coy. "We're building something." Funker grinned. "He's not Tega, that's for sure. Don't sabotage it." Ivy gazed out the window at the passing scenery. "I won't," she whispered. For once, she believed those words. She no longer felt compelled to throw up walls at the slightest hint of vulnerability. As Lagos's skyline loomed ahead, nerves fluttered in Ivy's stomach. She had a new life to construct, from renting an affordable apartment to purchasing raw materials for her perfumes. Yet, she wasn't doing it alone, even if Obaro was miles away. She had her own determination, Mama's blessings, Funker's unwavering cheerleading, and the quiet confidence that came from Obaro's unspoken promise. You can do it, and I'll be here if you stumble. Within days, she threw herself into setting up her workshop, a modest space in a rundown commercial building. She painted the walls white, arranged shelves for fragrance oils, and tested various perfume formulas late into the night. Sales would be an uphill battle, but she didn't mind. Each step reminded her she was living on her own terms. Sometimes, she'd catch a glimpse of the bracelet on her wrist and smile, recalling the man who'd given it. In their regular video calls, he listened eagerly to her updates, asked thoughtful questions about her product line, and occasionally teased her about working too hard. She rarely experienced such genuine interest. One evening, after finalizing her first sample batch, Ivy sat alone in the workshop, inhaling the delicate scents that wafted from the bottles. Emotion welled up, pride, relief, and a tinge of awe. She'd come so far from the girl who funded Tega's endless schemes, the girl who once trembled at the thought of standing on her own. Now, she had a tangible dream, one she'd crafted with her own grit. And if Obaro remained by her side as a partner rather than a user, she might just discover what love with no strings truly felt like. Closing her eyes, she whispered a silent prayer of gratitude, letting the fragrance of possibility envelop her like a hopeful embrace. Months rolled by, and Ivy's perfume line slowly took shape. She'd named her first scent Edo Bloom, inspired by her homeland's floral richness. Online marketing generated modest interest, and she sold a few dozen bottles in the first week. Not enough to live on, but promising. She felt alive, building something that was wholly hers. During that period, Obaro became a constant, if not physically present then emotionally. He came to Lagos occasionally, taking her to dinner or helping her transport supplies in his SUV. They never labeled their relationship officially, yet their bond grew. He'd plant soft kisses on her forehead, ask about her day with genuine curiosity, and encourage her ambitions. No demands, no controlling behavior, just a steady presence. One night, after a successful pop-up event, Ivy and Obaro returned to her workshop. She showed him the small shelf that displayed her brand's limited bottles, each adorned with a simple label she'd designed. He ran a finger along the shelf. "I'm so proud of you," he murmured. She felt her pulse jump at the sincerity in his voice. "Thank you. I still have a long way to go, though." He turned to her, eyes warm. "That's the fun part, growing together." Ivy's heart somersaulted. Before she could respond, he reached into his pocket and pulled out a tiny box. Her breath caught. She'd seen such a box before in countless proposals. But they hadn't even officially declared themselves a couple. Was this too fast? Obaro opened it, revealing a slim silver ring. A gentle smile curved his lips. "Ivy, I'm not pushing you for an immediate marriage, but I can't pretend I don't see a lifetime with you. This ring is a promise, my commitment that I'm here for the long run, if you want me." Tears blurred her vision. She dreamed of such a moment, yet dreaded it. She remembered Tega's promises, her father's empty words. But none of them had been like this, soft, patient, real. She swallowed hard. "I'm terrified," she confessed. "But I believe you. I see it in everything you do, not just your words." He slipped the ring onto her finger, a perfect fit. She stared at it, tears slipping down her cheeks. "Is this an engagement?" she asked, voice trembling. Obaro chuckled. "Think of it as a pre-engagement. When you're ready for a real proposal, I'll be on one knee with the entire choir singing." Her laughter mingled with sobs. She threw her arms around him, clinging as relief and joy surged. Finally, her fears felt smaller than her hope. The silence between them spoke volumes, a profound intimacy that needed no words. In the weeks that followed, Ivy's business took incremental steps forward. She launched a second scent, Lagos Dawn, capturing the city's brisk energy. Each sale reminded her she was capable, that she'd moved beyond Tega's shadow and her father's abandonment. She was thriving on her own merit, and if she leaned on Obaro sometimes, it was by choice, not necessity. One evening, they strolled along a quiet beach, hand in hand, waves lapping at their feet. Ivy mused, "I used to think love meant sacrificing everything, or waiting to be abandoned. With you, it feels like freedom." Obaro squeezed her hand. "Because it is." They watched the sunset in companionable silence. She leaned her head on his shoulder, marveling at how silence could feel so full of acceptance, reassurance, understanding. No demands, no disclaimers, just presence. Upon returning to her apartment, Ivy found a letter in her mail, It was from a distant relative claiming to know her father's whereabouts. Her stomach flipped. Could she handle opening old wounds now that her life was finally stable? She told Obaro, who simply said, "Do whatever is best for your peace. I'll stand by you." His support gave her courage. She decided to open it and discovered her father was living overseas, unwell, asking if she'd consider visiting. Tears welled up as decades of hurt crashed in. But thanks to her own growth and Obaro's loving steadiness, she felt strong enough to consider a conversation. Maybe closure was possible. That night, she gazed at the ring on her finger, thinking of how her life had changed since the day she left Tega. She was no longer a woman funding someone else's pipe dreams, nor a little girl waiting for her father to come home. She'd built a fragile but blossoming empire for herself, with dreams sealed in glass bottles and labeled with her own name. And though her heart still bore scars, it also held resilience and the capacity for genuine love, a love that spoke loudly even in silence. Closing her eyes, she whispered, "Thank you," to the universe, to her own courage, and to the man who showed her that sometimes, the loudest truths are the ones we feel when no words are needed. Please don't forget to subscribe, like, comment your thoughts and share. See you in the next story. AFRITALES by Moonlight.